Every September, the United States Tennis Association stages the world's largest professional tennis tournament. Let's take a look at the players at the greatest tournament in the world, the US Open Tennis Championships. The players in the tournament have achieved this level of play because of their exceptional talent coupled with hours of work on the technique and tactics of the game. We will look behind the scenes to see how top young players train and practice drills to achieve what seems automatic and effortless when they play. The top junior and professional players have a variety of training techniques to further improve their particular game. But what they all have in common is that they spend a good amount of time reinforcing specific patterns of play that will help them achieve the edge over their opponent.
We're at the USTA Player Development Headquarters located at Crandon Park in Key Biscayne, Florida. Our purpose is to demonstrate some patterns of play and drills that can be used to make these patterns part of your routine during a match. What is a pattern? A pattern is a series of shots that are repeated over and over. Patterns are based on sound, strategic, and tactical principles and are developed through certain styles of play. Players will tend to develop a pattern around one or more strengths. In this video, we will view professional tennis players constructing patterns during points. In addition, we will see them recognize an opponent's pattern and react to it accordingly. Patterns of play can be practiced through drills created to reinforce instinctive reactions. After each clip of the pros, a player from the USTA Player Development Program will demonstrate a drill to practice that pattern of play. Now let's take a look at how the professional players use these patterns effectively. Tennis points are made from a sequence of shots. When repeating particular sequences, your game begins to take on the form of a combination of patterns. You will find it helpful to identify and practice particular shot sequences, emphasizing your strengths as a player and minimizing your weaknesses. As you achieve mastery of certain patterns over a period of time, you will gain confidence as a player and develop a successful game plan for each match. Your tennis game will begin to take on your personal style of play, and it will be based on sound principles of strategy and tactics.
All points begin with either a serve or return a serve. Your serve should be a weapon that earns you points outright or at least forces a weak return. It's important to have a good offensive first serve as well as a reliable and consistent second serve. Accuracy of the serve, varying the placement, spin, and pace are all keys to a successful service game.
One characteristic pattern of a strong service point is to serve wide to the outside of the box, pulling your opponent off the court. Then hit a forcing ground stroke into the open area on the opposite side of the court. A variation of this pattern is to serve wide and direct the first volley to the open court on the other side. You and your partner can rehearse this pattern by serving wide to a target and hitting the next shot sharply into the open court. You can begin building this pattern by using targets as aim points for your serve. You and your partner should also practice placing serves to the inside of the service box, at the tee, or at the receiver's body. These two types of serves will pull the receiver to the middle of the court and eliminate the possibility of extreme angle returns. You can then hit a forcing ground stroke behind your opponent to the area of the court she has just left. Another good tactic is to direct the forcing ground stroke to the opponent's weaker side.
Equally important is your ability to return your opponent's serve to neutralize their weapon. Try to hit your returns deep and be alert for weak second serves that you can attack. Most service returns should be hit deep and clear the net by 3 to 4 feet. The placement of the return will depend on the speed and angle of the serve. Experienced players are able to change the direction of the ball and place the return based on their own strength or their opponent's weakness.
Your priorities when returning are consistency, depth, placement, pace, and spin, in that order. Emphasize consistency and good net clearance. Practice deep cross-court returns with a partner serving the ball wide. Emphasize consistency and good clearance over the net to reduce errors and ensure depth. To counterattack an extreme wide serve, a return down the line is also a typical pattern. This pattern will be successful if you cut off the angle on the return. Move forward on a 45-degree angle to intercept the flight of the serve to avoid being pulled too wide and out of position. Have your partner hit wide serves. Move forward in a diagonal direction to intercept the ball and return it deep and down the line. Another effective variation on returns is to hit deep and down the middle of the court. This pattern often occurs when the serve is hit to the inside of the service court. To build a solid foundation on the return of serve, practice hitting returns to targets placed strategically on the court. Returning a weak second serve should be one of your favorite shots. This particular pattern should be carried out with an aggressive return. Hitting the ball down the line restricts your opponent's options and allows you to follow your shot to the net. You and your partner can practice punishing the server. Have a partner or a coach serve weak and shallow second serves. Move forward and hit an aggressive return. Another way to attack a weak serve is to move inside the baseline and, depending on the height of the ball, drive or chip the return down the line. Follow the flight path of the ball and close into the net in order to finish the point with a volley. When returning against a net rusher, hit low returns at the feet of your oncoming opponent. You can practice this by having your partner hit a serve with spin and rush to the net. Return the ball low and at the feet. Remember to hit with plenty of spin to force the net rusher to volley the ball up.
In the backcourt, you will have more time to read your opponent's shot as well as prepare and direct your own shot. Since all points begin from the backcourt rally is the most common pattern in tennis. Because of the dimensions of the tennis court, percentages dictate that most shots are hit cross-court.
Your task from the backcourt is to spar with your opponent by consistently returning the ball over the net and within the boundaries of the court. Hopefully your opponent will make an error before you do, or will hit such a weak shot that you can attack. In the backcourt, you should aim for steadiness and depth by adjusting the height of your shots and varying the amount of spin you apply to the ball. Remember to direct the majority of your ground strokes cross-court until you get a short ball that you can attack. An excellent way to practice this is to have a cross-court rally competition. When you get a short ball, hit a forcing shot down the line. This drill can also be varied with a severe topspin angle directed cross-court. This drill should be practiced on both forehand and backhand side. If your opponent appears to be steady and matches you stroke for stroke, try to draw her off the court to open up the court for a winner. Rally with a partner cross-court for 4 to 6 balls. Have your partner hit a short ball very wide to the outside third of the court. Reply with a severely angled topspin cross-court shot that draws your partner off the court. Drive your next shot aggressively to the open court for the winner. Be sure to emphasize the speed of your racket head upward to impart heavy topspin on the severe angle cross-court shot. Today, you may see players from beginners to professionals run around their backhand to hit an aggressive inside-out forehand. This is one of the most popular patterns of the modern era. During a backcourt rally, a player can take an opponent's shot from down the middle, move around the ball, and hit a deep inside-out forehand to the opponent's backhand. When practicing this pattern, begin from the middle of the court and force your partner to step around his backhand on each shot while you try to do the same. Continue to rally inside-out forehands. Backcourt patterns can be constructed both offensively and defensively. An effective way to practice a defensive pattern is to execute the defend your turf drill. Return the deep drives landing in the center third of the court with high, deep, and down the middle shots. This pattern keeps the ball in play as well as minimizes chances for error. You and your partner can practice this pattern by rallying down the middle and aiming 5 feet over the net, as well as within 6 feet from the baseline. An effective way to reinforce the height of the ball over the net is to string a rope several feet above the net. The depth of the shot can be reinforced by using targets in the back of the court. When choosing your shots, a slice backhand can be an effective weapon. It keeps the ball low and enables you to reach wide balls efficiently. Hit the backhand slice by rallying with a partner, aiming for targets placed at 3 different areas of the court. First, practice aiming the slice cross-court deep. then angled short to open the court for an aggressive slice down the line. Attempt an occasional drop shot, but disguise it well by using the identical preparation you used for the slice backhand.
Balls landing in the midcourt are an invitation for you to take control of the point by hitting a forcing drive, a winner, or an approach shot. In this situation, use controlled aggression to dictate the point.
From the midcourt, the laws of physics dictate that the flight of the ball from your racket must be straight in order to keep it within the court. Most of your shots should be directed down the line, and you should follow the path of the ball to the net. This will allow you to bisect the angle of possible returns by keeping you on the same side of the court as the ball. If you hit cross-court and follow it in, you have to move across the center line to bisect the angle of returns. That will take more time and allow more angles for your opponent to pass you at the net. The technique of mid-court shots is different from the technique of back-court shots, in that you should probably shorten your backswing to compensate for the forward movement of your body and the reduced distance the ball must travel. Since mid-court shots are hit on the move, proper footwork and balance are critical to ensure a smooth transition through the mid-court. A common pattern is to take a short ball from the mid-court above the net and hit a flat approach shot hard and down the line. Develop your skill by having a coach or partner feed short balls, which you hit down the line to targets. A variation of this pattern is taking a short ball lower than the net and slicing it down the line. For example, as a ball bounces short and to the backhand side, move the right foot forward and plant it as you turn sideways and prepare the racket. The left foot then drops behind the body as the ball is struck using a karaoke step, which helps you maintain your balance while on the move. A short ball can also be hit as an inside-out forehand. This pattern can be rehearsed by hitting several balls with a partner until one player gets a shot landing near the service line of the ad court. The player then moves quickly around the ball and hits an inside-out forehand drive and follows it to the net. Another pattern is sneaking into the midcourt when an opponent hits a high looping shot, typically as a means to recover, and attacking the ball with a drive volley down the line. This offensive shot can be practiced by feeding an aggressive deep shot to your partner, putting her on the defense and off the court. At this time, take the ball in the air with a volley down the line.
Getting to the net can be the most exciting part of a tennis point. You can take control offensively to win the point. Closing into the net makes it difficult for your opponent to pass you, and it opens up more angles for winning volleys. How many times, however, do you set up a point perfectly and then fail to finish it off at the net? It is essential that you practice patterns of play at the net. This will help you gain confidence for match play, as opposed to merely reacting to a hit ball. Net play patterns work best when you have good control and placement of your volleys.
As your opponent strikes the ball, split step to establish your balance and then close in quickly to volley. Or retreat to hit an overhead smash. Closing in makes it difficult for your opponent to pass you, and it opens up more angles for winning volleys. Practice placement and accuracy on your volleys. To develop technique and accuracy, hit 8 fed forehand volleys in a row, deep cross-court and down the line. Follow with short-angled volleys cross-court and finally down the line. Now repeat the sequence using the backhand volley. In the event that your opponent returns your first volley with a lob, practice moving back to hit the smash. The overhead smash is the single most spectacular shot in tennis and should end the point in your favor. To rehearse this pattern, have your partner either drive a ball or lob. The net player should move 2 steps forward before each volley or 3 steps back before each overhead smash. This drill will help you get the knack of moving forward or back quickly to gain the best position from which to play the shot. Many times it takes the net player more than one overhead to win the point. Because of this recurring pattern, training yourself to hit both angled and deep overheads is essential. Have a coach or partner hit a drive, which you will take in the air with a deep volley. He then plays the ball or puts another ball in play by hitting a short lob. Hit the overhead aiming for the angle. Repeat this drill several times, varying the angle each time. There will be times when your opponent hits a lob and it is difficult to hit the overhead due to wind or sun. In this instance, allow the ball to bounce before hitting it to the open court. Practice this drill by looping heavy topspin shots deep to your partner's backhand corner. Your partner then retreats by hitting a high defensive lob. Waiting for the ball to bounce, set up for an overhead smash and aim for the open and largest area of the court. Follow the path of the ball to the net, expecting a return. Since you are fairly deep in the court, hit your overhead with some spin and hit up on it as you would a serve. Remember to split step as you move to the net to become balanced and allow for a direction change to hit the following volley.
In addition to offensive patterns, a player must learn to neutralize his opponent's offensive play. In this instance, the player is protecting against an offensive shot. Your choice of shots depends on your position on the court, your strengths and weaknesses, and how close your opponent is to the net.
You should choose a passing shot when your opponent does not close into the net, has an undependable volley, the wind is at your back, or you can play the ball from inside your baseline. Choose to lob when your opponent is close to the net. Her smash is not dependable, the sun is in her eyes, the wind is in your face, or you are forced deep behind your baseline. Disguise your shots so that he cannot anticipate whether you are going to drive or lob. To practice these shots successfully, rally with your partner until one of you gets a short ball. This player then hits a deep cross-court approach shot, which you return with an angled cross-court passing shot. Vary your passing shots with down-the-line shots and have your partner vary his approach shots as well. In many situations, you should think of passing as a two-shot sequence. If your opponent approaches up the middle of the court with pace and depth, use one of two shots to pass. First, a forceful shot right at him, and then pass to either side on the next shot. You may choose to vary this pattern by hitting a heavy topspin inside-out forehand that dips over the net at the net rusher. Expect a volley down the line, and then pass sharply cross-court. If an opponent is an aggressive net player and has been coming in successfully, it is wise to mix up your passing shots with a deep backcourt lob and again use a two-shot sequence. A probable combination may be to hit your shot at the opponent's feet, followed by a topspin lob to their backhand or weak side. You can then follow your lob in to the net expecting a weak return. Learning how to control the lob, finesse the chip shot, and add depth to the ground stroke will also add more variety to your game, as well as build your arsenal of shots.
Tennis players who want to achieve proficiency at any level need to be aware of numerous patterns of play. By detecting these patterns early in a match, you will increase your anticipation time as well as perform effortlessly and automatically. Your ability to choose certain patterns of play will maximize your strengths and neutralize your opponent's game plan, which will help you become the best player that you can be. Realize that we have only touched on a few patterns covering different areas of the court. There are several dozen more, most of which are elaborated upon in the USTA book, Patterns of Play and Drills, which is available through Human Kinetics Publishers. It is now up to you to use these patterns and drills and execute them in a match. Have fun working on your tennis.
Tennis is a game of pressure. It is a demanding game involving high levels of physical and mental intensity.
One of the things that a player can do to best prepare themselves for the pressure in a match situation is to practice dealing with pressure.
In tennis, unlike most sports, you are alone during competition. Coaching, timeouts, and substitutions are not allowed. The only tools you have to work with are the skills you've developed in practice.
Practice is not only going out and just hitting your shots. Practice is practicing playing under pressure, and that really involves practicing your mental skills.
Tennis great John McEnroe once remarked, "The question isn't whether you choke or not, but how, when you choke, you're going to handle it." For McEnroe, choking was simply viewed as part of the game of tennis, and learning to play effectively under pressure is a big part of any player's game. Champions are those players who learn how to cope better and play more effectively under pressure. Just like an effective two-handed backhand, a passing shot, or a topspin first serve, playing under pressure is a skill which must be learned and practiced if it is to be executed successfully in match conditions. In this video, you'll discover what champion players have learned about how to play effectively under pressure. We'll begin by identifying the common causes of pressure in tennis and how pressure can lead to poor performance. Equally important, we'll help you understand how pressure can actually lead to superior play when channeled correctly. In the first segment of this video, we'll look at being better able to recognize potentially stressful tennis situations. Then, after examining causes of pressure in tennis, we'll focus on what you can do to play well under pressure.
We don't know what pressure a particular player may be feeling. But what's important is that the player recognize the pressure and learn some of the tools that they can use to deal with it.
The first step in learning how to play more effectively under pressure is to become more aware of the sources of stress affecting your game. These include the nature of the game, fear of failing, losing emotional control, and off-the-court problems and concerns. By its very nature, the game of tennis will create pressure for players. It is a physically demanding game where competitive matches can last 4 hours. More often than not, the game is played outdoors, where players must brave conditions ranging from glaring sunlight to gusting winds and other inclement weather. And court conditions vary, from immaculate facilities to cracked and cratered surfaces that can make a ball bounce in a very unpredictable fashion. In addition to these physical factors, tennis is a game which requires pinpoint shot and serve accuracy and the ability to make lightning-quick mental decisions.
A player can make up to 1,000 split-second decisions in any match, reacting to what his or her opponent does. He or she needs to decide to go cross-court, do a drop shot, a lob shot, rush the net. The ability to make these decisions is critical for tennis success.
This situation is compounded by the fact that tennis is stop-and-go action, where as much as 2/3 of a match may actually be dead time between points. This downtime can often cause a player's focus to wane. They may dwell on an earlier mistake or begin to over-anticipate the next shot. The psychological demands exert tremendous pressure to stay focused on the present and to remain concentrated. Fear, and in particular fear of failing, is a major pressure point in any tennis match. Becoming frustrated over a missed opportunity, a poor tactical error, or losing a lead occur at every level of the game.
fear of failure is not about losing points, losing matches you felt you can win, or failing to close out a match. A lot of times what it's about is self-worth. Unfortunately, many of our younger tennis players grow up evaluating their own tennis performance in relation to their self-worth. In other words, they are more worthy when they perform well and win, and less worthy when they perform poorly and lose. So it's very important to be able to dissociate how you feel on the court and your self-worth.
Losing emotional control is one of the largest causes of poor play under pressure in tennis. When players become frustrated or overly concerned with failing, they sometimes lose emotional control. They hurry their serves, lose their positive focus, and become their own worst critic.
Playing with emotion will serve you well in a match. The key, however, is to not let your emotion get out of control and make a bad situation even worse. The bottom line is to play with your emotions in control.
Failing to play effectively under pressure is not always a direct result of actions on the tennis court. Outside distractions and influences often create pressure which can interfere with your being able to execute to the best of your ability. For example, you may be distracted by family concerns, financial difficulties, or dealing with excessive travel or professional challenges. Issues like these can weigh heavily on even the best player's mind, and they can distract your ability to focus on playing your best. This means that since you can't be in 100% control of what happens in your life off court, you'll need to develop methods for blocking out such distractions when you're on the court. These pressure points cause players to worry about worrying and results in attention disruption. Many players report that their minds speed up and that they play at a much quicker rate than normal. By doing so, they often make basic errors, hurrying their shots or making inappropriate tactical decisions. They may even develop a type of tunnel vision. For instance, a player may become so focused on an opponent's big first serve that he or she fails to attend to the opponent's movement after the serve. So when the first serve is returned, the opponent easily wins the point by outpositioning the player on the subsequent shot. Further, these pressure points affect more than our mental game. One reason players perform poorly under pressure is that as pressure increases, we experience increased muscle tension. This, in turn, interferes with coordinated movements. Tightened muscles caused by pressure will limit the extension on your backswing and slow down your footwork. Think of your own experience off the court. When you've been under a great deal of stress and pressure, you may have experienced a tension headache, stiff neck, or felt generally achy. A key to playing well during pressure situations in tennis is learning how to keep your muscles free of unwanted tension and to maintain a distraction-free mental focus.
The most important thing that we want to convey to young athletes when they're trying to deal with pressure is the understanding that whether they win or lose is not the ultimate objective. Their objective should be to play to the very best of their ability, that they're prepared, and they do everything they can to give themselves the best chance to win and perform at the level they're capable of.
The first step to playing successfully under pressure is to increase your awareness of what pressure points you're sensitive to and when they occur. Do you tend to have difficulty dealing with bad weather and court conditions? Is losing emotional control a problem for you? You can't control stress and pressure until you recognize when and under what conditions it occurs for you. An excellent way to determine your pressure points is to keep a log. After matches, note how you played and identify which of the pressure points discussed in this video arose. Once this analysis is completed, you should sit down and think carefully about how committed you are to dealing with these pressures. You will play more effectively under pressure only if you are aware of problems and make dealing with them a priority. One of the most important things you can do to deal more effectively with pressure is to develop an appropriate perspective toward yourself and the game. Often, players become stressed because they start taking the game too seriously. Even at the professional level, where great amounts of money are on the line, tennis is not brain surgery. It's a game participants are supposed to enjoy. Tennis burnouts often report that a primary reason they lost motivation for the game and performed poorly is because they forgot the original reasons they started playing in the first place. They forgot the fun of participating in a long rally, of acing that first serve, or learning how to perform that half volley. Instead of maintaining this fun perspective, players who have difficulty dealing with pressure often make the game more important than it really is. Rather than getting down on yourself when things don't go your way, try to laugh and remind yourself to enjoy the game. The game you play today is completely unrelated to whether the sun will rise tomorrow. So remember to keep it in proper perspective. A big part of maintaining proper perspective is recognizing and reminding yourself what you can and cannot control. For instance, you can't control who you're paired with in a tournament draw, how high the heat index is, or how poorly you've played in previous sets. No matter how much energy you put into thinking about these issues, you won't improve your level of play. The key is to focus on what you can control. For example, making sure you stretch and develop a good game plan for tough players in your bracket. Making sure you take plenty of fluids before and during a match when the heat index is high. And clearing your mind of poor past performances by using imagery to focus on previous good performances. Speaking of good and bad performances, what does the term mistake mean to you? Most of us have been conditioned to respond negatively to mistakes. But in a complex game like tennis, numerous mistakes will be made by even the most highly skilled players. And while successful players are never happy about making mistakes, they learn to put them in the proper perspective.
Tennis players need to view mistakes as building blocks for future success. You might take a few seconds out to feel frustrated, but immediately, particularly in a match, a deep breath can be taken and then a refocus of attention on the next point. Players lose matches because they let one point affect many points. Need to flush that one point and refocus immediately on the next point.
Maintaining the proper perspective toward your game is sometimes easier said than done. But by understanding how to focus on the right type of goals, you'll be better able to shake off the pressures of competitive play. The key is to focus on performance goals rather than outcome goals. The major difference between these two types of goals is that you have much more control over performance. For instance, improving the percentage of first serves you get in, or reducing the number of unforced errors, than you do over outcome, such as winning the match. Players who are preoccupied with match outcome and results often become anxious and worried.
4 sets, Chang, 7-5.
They lose their focus and perform poorly. One way to understand the difference between performance and outcome goals is by training to recognize each during practice.
What you're going to do is rally, and before each rally, I'll give you either a performance or an outcome goal, and you say back to me which one that is. Okay? So Tammy here, Chris on that side. All right, Tammy, don't lose a point this time.
Outcome.
Okay. Good net clearance, Chris.
Performance.
You got it. Okay.
However, players who focus on performance goals concentrate on task-related matters. They don't worry about the score. They think about executing to their highest level of play. Focusing on performance goals and downplaying outcome goals in competition is a key to stress busting and better tennis under pressure. Muscle tension is a common reaction to pressure. When this occurs, you lose precision on your shots. Your legs feel heavy, and you can't move as quickly. As a result, energy management techniques are often the most effective stress busters. In order to conserve energy, you must learn to relax your tense muscles during play. And the best way to do this is through centered breathing. Centered breathing involves taking deep, deliberate breaths, inhaling through your nose and letting the air fill your stomach, not your chest. Then slowly exhale through your mouth, feeling your neck and shoulders relax as you do. The entire process should just take a couple of seconds. Another way to relax and eliminate muscular tension is to maintain quick feet. Excessive pressure can cause the legs to tighten up, resulting in your legs feeling heavy and your footwork slowing down. By constantly moving your feet and not standing back on your heels, you can release some of that tension. Learning to relax physically and release tension is a big part of good energy management. By incorporating these skills into your game, you'll actually decrease the amount of pressure you feel during play. You must remember that pressure does not automatically affect tennis performance negatively. In fact, many top players will say they perform better under pressure. Rather than regarding pressure as a negative force, they've learned to enjoy how it adds challenge to the game. There are several strategies you can use to stay positive when you're under pressure. The key is to remind yourself that you may not be able to control the situation you're in, but you can control your reaction to it. Cue words are an excellent way to help you stay positive and focused in pressure point situations. Simply stated, cue words are positive or task-relevant statements which remind you what to focus on when you're under pressure.
All right, good return to the backhand, attack the net.
You might use words like go or hard to keep yourself energized in a fatiguing final set, or easy and relax when you feel tight. Another technique is to use positive imagery to see and feel yourself performing well, especially in stressful situations. Finally, in situations where you find yourself constantly thinking negatively, try a technique known as thought stopping. This involves 3 simple steps. First, identify the exact negative thoughts you have in a particular situation, such as, oh no, here I go, double faulting again, or my serve stinks, why do I even try? Second, identify some image, thought, or symbol that signals stop to you, like a stop sign or the image of a finish line. Visualize this stop signal just as soon as you start making the negative statements you identified in the first step. And third, identify specific, positive, but realistic replacement thoughts. Something like, I don't really stink, I've gotten my serve in before. Take a deep breath and go. Thought stopping will need to be learned and practiced before it is perfected. But once mastered, it is an excellent way to stay positive because it helps prevent negative thoughts from creeping into your game. There are no magic potions that will instantly turn a non-confident player into a confident one. But there are some proven techniques you can use to develop your confidence. It's impossible to have true confidence as a tennis player unless you can feel secure in knowing that you've paid your dues by practicing and training hard and smart. It's extremely important that you get good coaching, condition yourself using solid sports science techniques, and have organized and purposeful practices on a regular basis. Another way to train smart is to log your practice habits. Review this log from time to time so you can remind yourself of the work you've done and take pride in knowing that you have paid your dues. A particularly powerful way to develop confidence from practice is through simulation training.
To put some pressure on your serves, what we're going to do is have you play a game where you only get one serve. We're going to play 4 points. If you ever miss that one serve, the game goes automatically to your opponent.
Simulation training is simply creating practice situations that replicate as much as possible the physical and mental conditions which you'll face in actual competition. For example, if you have trouble with your physical stamina closing matches, practice closing matches by running first and getting yourself fatigued before you play a simulated set. or if you get nervous playing in front of other people. Go out of your way to practice at busy courts, such as public parks, where a number of bystanders are likely to stop and watch. Then use some of the techniques we've shown you to help yourself stay calm. While proper physical training, preparation, and game and match simulation will help build confidence because you'll know you are prepared, even the best prepared players will at times face adversity on the court.
When you make a mistake in a match, it's natural to feel pressure. A key to dealing well with that pressure, however, is to project a confident image on the court. If not, you send in a message to your opponent that you're buckling under the pressure and kind of caving in. By projecting this confident image, it will help you focus more, help you stay positive, and help you not dwell on mistakes.
A good way to develop a confident posture is to watch outstanding players who exhibit confidence in the face of failure. Observe how they walk, whether they hold their heads up or down, and how much time they spend beating themselves up psychologically and for how long. Then watch match videos of yourself and learn to distinguish between what you look like when you're playing well versus poorly. You certainly won't change your confidence mannerism overnight, but with awareness and hard work, it will change over time. Practice exhibiting your confident air and mannerisms on the court during training. Then work on projecting this image in game situations. You'll find that a confident posture is more than just an act. By concentrating on looking confident, you'll actually feel more confident. A great way to manage pressure is to develop mental and physical routines or rituals that will help regulate the way you prepare yourself to play and respond during a match. It has been consistently shown that athletes who don't perform well under pressure don't have regular routines. Players who adopt routines will improve significantly their ability to focus during match play. But it's not enough to simply have a routine. You must stick to it under all circumstances. For example, you might have a normal pre-match routine that has proven to be effective, but you feel the need to psych up differently for big matches, changing the preparation routine associated with your prior success. Although you should monitor the success of your routines and revise them over time, don't completely dispose of your normal rituals in order to meet the needs of a specific pressure situation. Have trust that the routines you've practiced are the best tools you have to calm yourself at all levels of match play. Pre-match routines are very important, but because of the stop-and-go nature of tennis, you'll also need to develop pre-shot and between-point routines. These routines should be designed to prepare you for optimum play. Such routines may involve an initial physical response, a fist in the air after hitting a winner, for example. Next, they should include a relaxation response, like focusing on centered breathing and switching the racket to the non-hitting hand. Relaxation should be followed by a preparatory response. Use pre-chosen cue words, such as easy does it, or all the way back.
First serves in.
Finally, call upon an automatic firing response.
Fire.
Use a trigger word like go or fire. You'll greatly benefit from incorporating these 4 responses into routines that will help you deal with pressures of match play. But in addition to routines that help keep you focused when you're on court, there are some general techniques you should employ to help shake off the pressures of the game. For example, when experiencing stress after a poor shot, it's very helpful not to let your eyes wander around the court. Rather, look at your racket strings and take a centering breath. Similarly, there will be times in a match where you lose your composure and need some time to regain it. In such situations, you can buy some time after points by first retrieving the ball furthest away. Retying your shoe or checking your strings or grip are other ways to buy some time to get composed. Remember, though, that buying time does little good unless you use that time wisely. By training yourself to use the time you have between points to perform routines, you'll be less likely to let the action of a match distract you from playing the best game you're capable of playing.
Obviously, a player that's feeling pressure wants to perform well. So take that desire and that passion for why you're really out there playing tennis and use it to your advantage and get out there and just compete your heart out.
This program has defined sources of pressure in tennis, showed how pressure can negatively influence performance, and described strategies to deal with stress. By understanding and identifying the pressure points that affect you and developing an arsenal of stress-busting strategies, you'll be better prepared to cope with pressure. Remember the 4 pressure points. Tennis is a physically demanding game, and factors such as weather or court conditions will rarely be within your control. It's important to recognize that your self-worth is not associated with your ability to achieve success on the court. Being your own severest critic can cause you to hurry serves and lose focus. And finally, since you can't control 100% of what happens in your life off-court, you'll need to develop methods for blocking out life's diversions when you take the court. You can combat these pressure points by understanding the 6 stress busters and determining which ones work best for you. The best way to develop stress awareness is by keeping a log of how you've played and practiced and noting what types of pressure consistently affect you. Often players become stressed because they take the game too seriously. Remember, tennis is a game and it should be fun. Learn to relax during play through centered breathing and keep your feet moving to keep your legs from tensing up. These techniques will help you maintain stamina for the entire match. Use imagery, self-talk, and thought-stopping to keep negativity from getting in your way. Practice exhibiting an air of confidence on the court during training. Then work on projecting this image in game situations. Finally, develop mental and physical routines that will help prepare you to play and respond during a match. Practicing these strategies and incorporating them into your game will take time and effort, but doing so will ensure that you will play better tennis under pressure.